Greetings everyone. This is the wind from the north delivered to you straight from Russia. My name is Nelly and today I have a very special guest, a friend of mine. Her name is Lyubov.
Hi.
Yeah, which is literally translated into English as love. So Lyubov, she is a mother of 2 kids, 8 and 4 years old. And this is actually a cool combination for today's video because our idea is to speak about top 5 favorite children books here in Russia. So we will be talking about characters who really made Russians as they are personally. Yeah, and these stories have been read to generations of Russian children for hundreds of years. So our idea is to show you some characters which are rooted into every Russian's personality, okay? So, and my friend Lyubov, she will be sharing her comments on how modern children of the 21st century perceive, understand, and process, these classical Russian stories and folk tales, okay? So, let's start.
Let's start.
All right, so our choice for number 1 story is Kolobok. So who is the guy?
My husband would say Kolobok.
Kolobok, okay. So the guy is actually a ball of dough, so it's like bread ball. And it is worth noticing that bread is a sacred thing for so many Russians, for so many generations of Russians. And it's no wonder that the first fairy tale that every person hears when they are born, it's Kolobok.
Of course, I read this book to my children, and my son read this book on his own in the 1st grade.
Yeah, and I remember my parents reading that to me, and me reading this to my daughter. She's 20 now. So Luba is reading this story to her children of 8 and 4 years. So you can see it's actually our ancestry, right?
Yeah.
This is our legacy that we keep reading generation in, generation out. Yes. So as the story goes, this Kolobok was baked by Granny, and she left it on the window just to chill. And at that very moment, the guy fled. Yeah, he just ran away. Went into the woods and started his adventurous journey, and he was meeting all sorts of animals, and he was singing songs to them about how brave he was, how courageous and adventurous, yes.
Yes. And each animal of this fairy tale that Kolobok met tried to catch and eat him. And I'm sure if I woke my son up at night, he could tell each word of this story in the right order. Yeah. But of course, I will never do it.
Yes, I second that, because I can still hear this song of this Kolobok, okay, in my mind 40 years after my childhood. This is really, it runs in my veins, right? This song. So finally, alas, he meets the fox. And the fox in Russian tales, she is just an embodiment of all evil possible, of all evil you can imagine, yes, of all the cunning, all the greed. And so she fools him into singing the song on her nose exactly, and she eats him up, unfortunately.
And fun fact is that nowadays there are 2 alternative ends of this fairy tale.
Yeah.
In the original version, the fox ate this ball bread Kolobok, and in the modern version, Kolobok could escape from the fox and come back home.
Okay.
And interesting that my daughter, she watched the cartoons with both ends, and she knows these both ends, but she prefers a bitter pill to swallow, a true story. And
which speaks a lot about how Russians really are, okay?
Yes, and this fairy tale is like an example for my kids. Sometimes they listen to my advice.
Okay, so they should follow your advice.
Yes, they should follow. Yes, and Kolobok was like a toddler, yes, for this grandma and grandpa.
That's true.
And he never listened to their advice that's why he died.
As for me, this tale is about the fact that no matter how hard you party, no matter how free you are, the outcome is inevitably going to be sad. Okay, so yeah, I think this is no surprise, guys. Russians are a little bit pessimistic. Yeah, it's like most of the time we are pessimistic. So it means that you can party hard, like there is a song, "Party Like a Russian," right? And yes, we do party hard, but we understand, yeah, that after that we will face this fatal end. Maybe that's why we party like we do. Okay, number 2 is
the turnip.
The turnip, yes.
Yes, it's my favorite one. My mom read me this book, and I read this book to my children and my son. The first thing that he did when he learned to read was to read this fairy tale on his own.
Wow.
And nursery teachers read this book to children, and then they play role-play game in the groups, and I'm sure each Russian knows this fairy tale.
That's 100%. Yeah. I would say that turnip used to be the main food for Russians before, in the 17th century, Peter the Great brought potato from his journeys to Holland. So it's no surprise, right? No wonder that a second tale after the wall bread is the turnip, okay? So the whole story is pretty elementary. So there is a granddad, he grows turnip in his garden, and one of the turnips is so huge, he just cannot pull it out by his own, okay? So he cannot dig it out. And he starts calling for help. So the family gradually come and join pulling it out. But they cannot do it until the last member of the family, who happens to be Mouse, yeah, he joins the crowd and they pull it together with this, mutual effort, okay?
I bought the toys with the heroes of this fairy tale, and they're so nice, warm and cozy. Just look at them.
Handmade, yeah?
Yes, handmade. This is a turnip, and some heroes unfortunately are missing.
And they are just, you can tell by the condition of the toys, it's heavily used.
Yes, my children used to play with these toys when they were 2 or 3 years old. And I'm sure if I ask them now to tell this fairy tale, they can tell this story word by word. Yes.
Of course.
And 100% that this fairy tale is about strong family connections in Russia. The young members of the family respect the oldest, and grandparents, parents always can help and support their children. And it's true. In our family, I do my best to instill the value of respect to parents, grandparents, and old people, all generations, yes, in my children. And of course, I always will be the source of support and strength for my children.
That's true. I couldn't say any better about this. And I remember one case in my life when, a couple of years ago, I found a letter somewhere on the internet, a letter from a mother to her teenage girl. In that letter, she was saying something like, when you hit 18, you're no longer wanted in this house because your room will be given for rent, something like that. So it's like, never count on me giving you money. And I read this to my husband, and we were like, really? That sounded like nonsense to us, yeah? Because being a parent in Russia, you cannot even think of this, right? This is unthinkable things. Yes. Because we are a great source of support to children. And of course, you might say it has faded away a little bit recently, especially in bigger cities. Yeah, but generally, Russia is a country with very strong family values. That's true. All right, number 3 is our favorite, Masha. She's actually worldwide popular, yeah, because there are series about this Masha and the bear, And this series was translated into so many languages, and you can find them on the internet, this short series. Actually great, yes. So I will not be telling this story to you because I hope you know it. I would say that this character, this hero, is one of the favorites. And here in Russia we have many stories about Masha and all sorts of bears, okay? But the thing is that in every story, Masha gets away with anything, okay? Everything. And she's doing that on her own. Yes, she's a very strong, independent lady, not counting on others. She's not waiting for some prince or whatever to come and rescue. No, she's doing what is supposed to be done alone, okay? Not waiting for anybody to help her. And I would say that there are so many folk tales in Russia with the same female personage, with the same female hero in the center of the story. Like, for example, this girl in the tale Morozka. So she was a servant in some frozen land, and she managed to get a lot of presents from a frosty old lord, I don't know. Yeah, and there is another one about sister rescuing a brother from a flock of wild swans, and again, she did it totally alone, okay, without anybody's help. So my idea is that there are so many stories about strong and independent women in Russian folklore, and this is so very much about Russian women, how they are, right?
Yes, I agree with you, absolutely. I can judge looking at my mom, my grannies. They ran the house, they took care of their kids, they took care of their garden, worked into shift, treat their husband, and put in all the efforts to give their children the best education that they could afford.
Yeah, I would even say that maybe Russian women tend to be heads of the family, okay?
Yes, I just want to add that women of that generation were so hardworking and industrious. And one poet, actually it was Nekrasov, said that Russian woman can come into a burning house or can stop a running horse.
Yeah.
These were said about Russian ladies long before feminism became mainstream.
That's true. Do you feel that inside yourself? Because I do.
Yes, sometimes.
Okay, number 4. Enough for the folk tales. This is gonna be a classical children's book. Actually, on this book, a lot of Russian generations have already grown up. So, this story is called Moy Dadir. This is a guy whose name is literally translated as wash it till there are holes in it. Yes. Just rub it. Yeah, and this guy is a cabinet with a sink, spooky, living in mom's bedroom. And, sometimes he just appears out of nowhere and starts teaching children to be clean, to follow all the rules around the house, and to respect hygiene and cleanliness, right? Yeah, what do you think about that for a children's story?
I have very fond memories about this story. In my childhood, I had a film strip.
Okay.
And my dad showed me this story. And here's these classical stories about cleanliness and purity.
Yeah, that's true.
And in our family, we had a tradition. Every Saturday, my parents did general cleaning in our apartment.
We had that tradition too, okay.
Yeah, and of course my brothers and me took a part in this event. And my role was dusting furniture.
Oh, same for me. Dusting furniture, exactly.
And my brothers, they should wash and vacuum the floor.
Okay, so we have the same traditions about Saturdays for general cleaning.
Yes.
In apartment.
I try to teach my children cleanliness and order. Put their clothes and toys away, make their bed, and so on. I think in each Russian family there is a golden rule. After work and when you come back home, you should take off your shoes and wash your hands properly with soap.
Exactly. That's the first two things to do in every Russian house when you enter it. And the second thing to do if you came back home is to change into your home clothes. We always do that because this is literally impossible to think of yourself sitting with the same jeans you were using in a park, on a park bench, or not to mention public transportation. It's impossible using the same clothes in home because sitting in the bed or on a couch. So we change. we do.
Yeah, we love this classical story in our family, though the main character is not very friendly.
And finally, we have the last, but not the least, story, favorite one in many families. And this is the story about a doctor whose name is Aybalit, which translates as it hurts. Oh, it hurts. Okay. So the famous doctor, he was known for his limitless compassion and love for animals and care for other people and self-sacrifice. All sorts of creatures came to him asking for help anytime they got into troubles, anytime they got some health issues. So he once even sewed up on a new pair of legs to a bunny who lost his legs in a car accident on the street. So the story goes, one day this doctor gets a letter from his African friend Hippo, and without any minute's hesitation, he just packs the things, right, and hits the road. Okay, so the story actually tells about his adventures, about his crossing this vast blue sea and climbing the rocks and getting into storms. He had all kinds of obstacles on his way to rescuing his African friends.
But with the help of responsive animals, Aybalit got safely to Limpopo, to Africa. And of course, he immediately began to treat the sick animals. For 10 days straight, did not leave their patients.
Self-sacrifice.
Yes. And when all the animals were cured, all the inhabitants of Africa sang and danced to praise the kind and gentle doctor.
You know what? I'll tell you something. I just realized that this story is not only about self-sacrifice, it's not only about mercy, love, and all kind of things. It's about friendship between Russian and African people, which dates back to Soviet Union. It's like this strong bond that our people had, and it is still there, this friendship, as far as I know, judging from the political news, okay? So actually, guys, this is the moment I have realized this. I never thought about that back in the days when I was a child reading this story. But right now I see that there's room for politics, even in the children's literature. And this is actually so fun. Like, it's a fun fact to see that. And I also saw that right now, my daughter, she's a student in Moscow University of Friendship, which is named after Patrice Lumumba. And this is an African political leader. Okay, so yes, this story is definitely about friendship between Russian and African people. This is crazy.
And maybe it makes sense to tell a couple of words about Russian healthcare system, especially about Russian pediatric medicine, because today we are talking about kids' books.
Yeah.
And in Russia, we have free medicine. Yes, our medicine is free.
That's true.
I swear it's true.
I think it's where.
When you have a baby, you have to stay in the maternity hospital with your baby at least 3 days. Even more if necessary. And for moms, it will be absolutely free. On the week after childbirth, your nurse and your pediatrician will come to your place to check health of your baby, and it will be absolutely free.
And they come every other week. Yes, for a couple of months they come every other week, and that's for free.
Yes, and despite that children grow up, moms can call the doctor if their children have a fever or have a serious disease, and doctor will come to your place.
Exactly.
Yes, and check health of your kid and prescribe some medicine. It will be free again. In my case, my son was born earlier than we all expected on the 33rd week, and it took 1 month serious rehabilitation
to recover.
Yes, to rescue his life.
Oh my gosh.
And when he turned 4 months, our doctor sent us to special neurological center, kids center, and I didn't pay any ruble. And I'm so
this is amazing.
Yes, I'm so grateful for this treatment that helped my son to be healthy.
I bet. Okay, so you see, this doctor, this is a national hero, and we do respect our doctors.
Yeah.
So this was our top 5 favorite children's books here in Russia. I hope you liked it and you had fun as much as we did.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us today. Leave a comment on which character you loved better, or maybe share some information about favorite books that you have in your countries. Thank you for being with us today. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.